Hello, everyone. How you doing? And welcome back to Skye and Evan in the morning. And today we're going to be talking about a Best Picture nominee from the 2025 Oscars. We're only a year and a half late, which is Conclave, a movie that Evan hadn't seen until now. You read the book right before you watched the film.
Yep, that's why I was curious. I didn't know it was based on a book, and I just never bothered to watch the movie when it came out. So I was like, you know what, I'll check the movie out after the fact. So yeah.
Yeah, yeah, and it's I mean, I am curious as we get into it what how different it is from the book. But I I quite enjoy this film. Like I think it's good. I think it's a really well made, really tight film, and it feels like the type of film that would win a bunch of awards. Right? Like when I watched it the first time, I was like, this is gonna win Best Picture. I was baffled that Nora won over it. Because it just feels a movie made for the Academy, like woke but not woke enough, and just like
Was this the same year as Anora? Wasn't
yeah,
this 2024 or
yeah, yeah. Anora
Anora
won
won that
over
year?
it. Yeah, Anora won over it.
Wow.
Yeah,
I'm not sure what other ones were its competition, and I haven't seen Anora, but it's
I mean Anora is good,
yeah, it's
but
I mean, that was a weird year for movies.
it
Just didn't
was.
get a lot of great films on the chopping block, but I this the way that I look at it, I because you watched Invisible or Life and you'd read the book when we covered that.
Yeah,
There's been
yeah.
a couple where I've talked about books I've read in comparison to the movies. I try to do that nowadays. I like reading the book before I check out the adaptation. But anytime you do read a book that gets turned into a movie, one of the biggest things that's always going to be lost is just being in the main character's head or
Yeah.
in whatever characters the reader or the author is like, putting you in. And I will say something is lost in translation with the main character's name is Lamelli in the book. They changed it to Lawrence probably just to roll off the tongue easier.
I mean,
But
I
when
imagine Lamelli is like Italian in the book, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Yeah,
People have different it's funny, Benitez, I believe, is the one who becomes Pope in the end,
yeah, yeah.
spoilers. Um, he's Filipino in the book, and
He's
they
Mexican,
mentioned that he
or
went to Baghdad, and yeah, he's Mexican in the movie, and he's from Afghanistan in the or it's like he's the
he's
Archbishop of
based on it.
Afghanistan
Yeah,
in
yeah.
the movie. So there's small changes like that to
I
ethnicities or
think it's
people's
mostly just because
roles
of
or
the actors they cast. I mean, because it makes sense, right? If you're gonna make this film and it's gonna be like in English, you can't really have an Italian main character. I mean, you can if you do the whole like House of Gucci thing where they're just speaking English with an Italian accent or something. Um, but
well,
it's
and they
just
do
easier
have
to have the main character like be English and just speak English. But there is a lot of the film that is in
yeah.
Italian, which is interesting too. But yeah,
Tedesco speaks a lot of Italian. There's
yeah.
also like some Latin at the beginning. Like they do put in the effort with other languages, but
To
like
make
a
it
funny
more
thing is
accessible, you would expect English to be the main language, so it's expected.
well, one of the interesting changes from the book is the that's a perfect example what you're talking about is the nun who dropped the tray who's connected to Adeyemi.
Hmm.
In the book, the sister Agnes says she doesn't speak a word of Italian and Lomelli knows English, so they speak that, and that's what they speak over the confessional. She speaks like Nigerian, and the like that's her native language because she was brought to Vatican City from there. So
Uh-huh.
but it's one of those things where it is essentially the same story.
Hmm.
There's alterations to small details with the characters, but most of the dialogue's the same. The main thing that's missing is it's just the character's headspace is important. He's going through a bit of a crisis of faith. He has trouble praying. There's all this self-doubt in his mind where he kind of asks God for forgiveness in his head and is he doesn't like that he's a doubter. He also like is kind of shaken in his faith by people putting him up as someone who could be pope. So it's I will say that's something that I do feel is a bit missing from this movie. the movie uses a lot of silence and its cinematography for that. Like it's more about the sense of scale and just depicting the conclave and how big and it is and how they lock everyone in, kind of almost like a prison. It's kind of meant to feel that way. So I it's a tricky book to adapt, but I do think this is about as good as you could do.
Hmm.
It's performance led and it's visual led. So
I don't know what word to describe the way I felt about this film. It's a little intriguing, just the whole notion. Like, big spoilers, by the way. This is spoiling the point and end of this film from this point on. The whole idea of choosing a pope who happens to be intersex is so unique. I wouldn't have expected that from this film,
I
and I think the way they justify it thematically is like so cool. Like, I love the whole like I exist outside of God's certainties. I'm like, that's awesome. That's a brilliant way of depicting that.
well, and like Lamelli, I'm gonna have trouble calling him Lawrence. uh, Lawrence's speech about it's from the book as well, but him talking about certainty being the enemy of unity or something along those
Uh-huh.
lines. But he he also like wishes for there to be a pope who sins and asks for forgiveness. It's a bold statement that he makes, and there's more dialogue in the book where the cardinals are just kind of talking amongst each other at dinner. You know, the movie's got to tone down on the scenes and really focus on what's important. But Benitez and the point of the ending of the movie, it snuck up on me. I wasn't sure where they were going. I didn't spoil who became pope. I didn't know how this movie ended or where it went, but it's the funniest thing. There's a slight hint at what the twist at the end of the book is, where it's established that the razor for Benitez is still in its cellophane wrapper. That like a chapter ends on that note, and you're like, what's that all about? Like, why isn't he shaving? And it's like, oh, it's one of those like, oh shit, at the end of the story. And what's so interesting about it is it was not nefarious at all. It wasn't like he was trying to deceive anybody. And it in the book actually, like they say it was an appendicitis that he got his that he was first medically examined by a doctor. He grew up in like impoverished areas and he literally just never had occasion to be examined by a doctor or do a physical. So he didn't know all his life. His parents treated him like he was a boy and he never had cause. And he jokes in the book of like, I've remained celibate my whole life. It's just, I, but it's the same idea where there was that clinic where he was going to make an appointment and he talked to the Pope about it and he opted against it. He decided that it wasn't the right call.
Hmm.
And I love that idea that's underlying in both the book and the movie that the Pope he was kind of conniving in a lot of ways in this
Yeah.
story. You know, uh, there's a line in the book that says that that says that Lamelli is in his pastime, like one of his indulgences is detective fiction. And I mean, I think that the author Robert Harris, he writes a lot of books that are like that. Fatherland is a detective story, but it this story does have an air of like a murder mystery about it because
It
you know the Pope
does.
isn't murdered, but his death kind of is shrouded in secrecy. There's
Yeah,
all
well, yeah,
these
there's a
things
whole
that he
thing
was
with
doing
like
right before he
Tremblay,
died.
how, him being like dismissed, just like the final meeting the Pope had before he died is with Tremblay. Is like, was he dismissed? Because there's this hearsay, and the person who tells it is like a drunk, like alcoholic. So it's like there's a whole like a lot of layers that feel like like you said, a murder mystery. That's exactly how I felt when I was rewatching it. And I knew where it led, and it just like it's kind of cool seeing all the like Lawrence pieced together the whole mystery, even though nobody actually killed the Pope. He just died naturally. But it kind of feels like that way. Like there was a whole like conspiracy behind it, which I think is probably like what makes the film appealing to watch. Like, I was talking to you about this, and I remember the film being longer. It's not. It's just 2 hours. Um, and I do still think 2 hours is probably too long. The film is very slow paced. It,
Yeah. Like I said, there's a lot of just where scenes where they just kind of let the cinematography
mhm.
rest, where they're like, wow, look at how cool everything is. Like
Yeah, and
credit
the
where it's due. I
music
mean,
is beautiful. Like, it's it's all great, but you're like, okay, we don't need this, even though it's cool.
Yeah. Without a lot of what you can do in a book, I mean, it's the same events that happen in the book, but I'm like, this is basically just they go to dinner, they do the voting, and the process just repeats until they have a
Yeah.
pope. And I'm like, it's only
There's a lot
so
of atmosphere they like to build in the film, which I assume is not really the same as the book.
it's just that there's more introspection, there's more of just letting the characters rest in their own thoughts, or there's a little bit more to the dialogue when you can be
Hmm.
in the main character's head. So,
Yeah.
it's little something's lost in translation, but I do agree. Even like maybe an hour and 45, you could have trimmed it down a smidge to make it a little bit better paced, because I
Yeah.
I
But
I
it's
do
also the
think
thing
some
of
of it
like,
drags.
this film is made for winning Oscars. And if a film is too
True.
short, the Oscars will not pay it any mind. A film needs to be around 2 hours at least for the Oscars to give it any awards, which is
That's
a
actually
whole other can of worms, but yeah.
I actually could see that literally being why it's almost exactly 2
Yeah,
hours.
it's like
It's
1 hour
yeah,
58, I think.
my Blu-ray file is 2 hours and 29 seconds. That's, like, pretty damn exact, so,
Yeah, exactly. So
um
that's how I feel. But my point when I started mentioning the length is that even though it is slow paced, it feels intriguing, right? Like I was always engaged. um there were moments where like, okay, this is dragging, but I didn't feel like the film was losing me, because the film is really interesting, like with the whole like conspiracy behind it all, even though there isn't like a murder mystery like you said. It's like it has enough to keep you engaged with the whole air of like finding out the truth, because it's basically like they're running out of time. Like one of them is gonna win and they need to find the truth before one of them wins, and if Tedesco wins, then it's like a fucking Nazi at the head of the Catholic Church, which is like awful. And it's, I mean, there's a whole other thing to be said about the Catholic Church on its own just being bad enough, and like someone making it even worse, or how they they have to concede to
well
Adeyemi for a lot of it, where he's like leading, but he's also like extremely homophobic. So there's some really interesting things to be said about how these characters like are conceding with wind just to be able to get the ending they want, that's better than Tedesco, which is like the worst case scenario, which I find really interesting, and it has a lot to say about like the political um state of the world, as it were, with the rise of like
well
right wing populism. But anyway,
well, I mean, something that permeates both the movie and the book is the sense of, like, liberals versus conservatives. Different
yeah,
cardinals have different ideas, and, every pope is defined by their beliefs and what they want. Like Pope Francis, he supported
yeah, he was
LGBTQ people.
very
It's like,
woke.
it was cool. Yeah, exactly. The Pope was woke. We kind of have a woke Pope now by the looks of it. So though one person runs the Catholic Church, and it's a whole thing every time someone new steps in. So who they are before they become Pope is something that's important to understand. Yeah. Um, oh God, I was gonna bring this back to how the story ends. A note I really like, I was a little thrown. So the ending of this movie is interesting, and I'm pretty sure the book doesn't really depict this. The sort of the ending note you're left on is when Benitez and Lomeli are talking, and what he brings up is he's like, they're gonna find out eventually. He's like, you'll have to be examined by a doctor when you get older, like when your health starts to decline, because popes serve till death or resignation,
Hmm.
and is like they'll scrutinize. Someone's gonna find out about the clinic, like someone out there will connect it, right? And they're basically just like, well, what happens then? They're like, I don't know. We'll figure it out when it comes along. But I'm like, one way or another, we're elected, and it spells a new outlook for the Catholic Church when that happens. And the idea that is underneath the surface of the story is women's roles in the Catholic Church. Because and Sister Agnes says it in the scene, the big, like,
Yeah,
argument when they lay out the
yeah, it's a great
papers at
line.
the
Like, even
dinner.
though we're meant to be invisible, God did give us eyes and
Yeah.
ears. It's a great line.
It's It's a great line. Yeah, we're meant to be invisible. There's in the book there's a longer conversation about women's roles where I think Bellini talks about that, and they're, women can't become priests, and it's one of those things, like sexism is kind of built into a lot of just society in general, but there's
It's kind of inherent to religion.
men yeah, it's just kind of something that's been dictated by history where men tend to have more power in roles around the world, and it's stuck around in the Catholic Church, even though they're intrinsic and you still have nuns. But that dialogue happens in the film and in the story where they talk about trying to give women like more influence over the church, and it's essentially laughed off, and that stays under the surface. But Sister Agnes is a character that keeps that, and she helps to print the documents. That's a
Yeah.
big moment with her, and it's not really, they don't really draw attention to it in the movie, but in the book there's kind of this like, she saw what that was. She knows what this is, but she doesn't say anything. She just helps him because he literally needs help working the scanner. So, but she has that dialogue towards the end, and just women have the slightest influence over this film, and Benitez becomes pope at the end, and who knows what's going to happen from that. But then the last shot of the film is Lawrence looking out from his window when they finally open the window, and you just see three women walking out of a door, and then they just rest on it for kind of an abnormal amount of time, and then it just cuts to black.
Mm.
And the other aspect is they show putting the white smoke up to show that they elected a new pope, but you don't get the big, hundreds of thousands of people all looking out and cheering while they,
No,
because you
it
don't need
happens
that.
off screen. You have Lawrence look like he hears it and he just looks up and smiles, which is I thought was pretty cool.
Yeah. But that's the end note of the film, is just showing three women walking out who are probably like at the bare, like working from the ground up in the
Yeah.
Catholic Church, and it's a note of like maybe they'll have better influence, maybe they'll have a better future now that Benitez is pope. And
Mm.
it's just kind of a theme that sneaks up on you in this story, where it's not that prominent until Benitez becomes pope, and you start to wonder more about women's roles in the film itself. So it's really clever. It's really clever how this story is written.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I think the it's interesting though. Like you give it a 7, I give it an 8. Not to like go into ratings, but like I think the story is like extremely tightly written. I think the atmosphere of the film is awesome. Like it's really well directed. The actors are great. It looks beautiful. The music is beautiful. Other than like pacing, I don't really have any criticisms. It just feels, and I that's what I said when you recommended it. It feels like a movie made to win Oscars, for better or for worse. Like it feels like a best picture film, and it just has that air of like
Well,
pretentiousness that you can taste when a movie's made to win Oscars. You know what I mean?
yeah, I mean, something that is a difference from the book is that certain scenes place more emphasis on performance, if you know what I mean, where
Uh-huh.
a book might have something more subtle, but they clearly want the actor to go into a range where they're like start yelling or start,
Yeah.
the scenes that are played at the Oscars, when they're like
Yeah.
this person for best actor, and it it's just the nature of how a movie is. They're driven by the actors, so you want to get more of a direct performance from them. But it, it's weird because I did give this a 7, and you were saying that about ratings. I don't know what holds it back, because pacing is definitely one. Because in spite of the fact that I don't think like much needed to be changed about the story, something about it does feel a little long or drawn out compared to how it could be. I don't know.
Yeah.
Um, Something else I wanted to mention that I think the book, there's just more time in the book to talk about this, but the explosion that happens in the Sistine Chapel, that happens in the book, and there's actually a crazy moment when guards try to enter, and Lamelli's like telling them like get out, like this is like no one is hurt, like stay out, you're this is sacrilege. And the book talks about like, and there's other mentions to like using lasers to like be able to hear what's going on in the Sistine Chapel. And there's a theme in the story that it's kind of a different world from, the one 500 years ago. I mean, there's been so many different popes over so many years. And something like a coordinated air attack where there's like three separate attacks in three separate cities, that was just unheard of back then. You didn't have something like that. And the film deals with a lot of, I mean, one of the small elements of the film is just talking about how they get rid of all the phones and computers and everything inside of the Vatican, because it's just like the whole idea is there's supposed to be no outside influence. They don't talk to anybody, they don't go outside, they just talk to themselves and figure out who needs to become the next pope. But on top of that, attacks against the church, which are clearly symbolic. It's one of they probably never expected to kill cardinals or anything like that. It was just about an attack being so close to the Vatican and to the potential new pope. They even talk about they have snipers in the book to protect the cardinals because of the notion of someone potentially getting offed, obviously. Um, but I do like that as well as an underlying theme similar to women in the church, where it's something that's just it's a different world from the one, hundreds of years ago, and the church has to just kind of adapt to a new world. So, yeah.
Yeah, it is interesting to think about that. And I mean, I don't know. I'm I like the film. I think it also has a little bit of air of like there is hope for the Catholic Church, and I don't love that just as someone who like really hates religion as a whole, and I find the Catholic Church to
Damn.
be like really like disgusting in a way. Like I know religion has its place in you know society, and I don't knock people who are religious. Religiousness in itself is not something I find like too problematic. It's more religion as like a political thing basically, which really frustrates me.
Well, well, I mean, in fairness to this film and, the book, I don't think it paints the Catholic Church in a flattering manner. And in
Oh
fact, I'd
no,
imagine that a lot of Catholics aren't a fan of this movie.
I would.
But
I know. I agree. I just think it feels like oh, everything can work out. The Catholic Church can become good, and I just think the system of what the Catholic Church is kind of like too broken to actually ever like fix itself properly. Because like we have a quote unquote woke pope right now, but not really. He's woke about a few things. He's just been like saying a lot of things about AI, which are cool, but a lot of his other opinions, especially when he was announced as pope, I remember people were saying like, "Oh, he's actually not that progressive or whatever." Um,
I
so
still find it fascinating that they elected an American pope. I
yeah,
feel like they had to have known like that would have had an impact, or that like people would have wondered what that was about. And I know that he was a bit of a black sheep. They didn't expect him to
yeah,
become pope, but here we are. So we'll
yeah,
see. He just got elected. It was only within like a year or so. So,
yeah. It's
we'll
very
see.
yeah. I don't know. Maybe I'm just too much of a doomer about things like religion, but it is one of those things that I feel like. But it's hard. Like you're not gonna make it's you can't make this film too much like doomer-ish because the point is that at the end they choose someone who can lead the Catholic Church to better places. And I mean, they don't even say that it's going to lead them to like salvation. It's just like probably going to get a little better. It's just probably less awful instead of just being like he's going to save everything. So I don't know. Maybe I'm too cynical.
Yeah. I don't know. It, I always I find the notion of the Pope interesting, and I mean, like I was mentioning that whole, when the Pope steps out on the balcony and everyone sees, I feel like that is just regardless of just the Catholic Church in general, because I mean, they even mention scandals that have been involved in so many different religious people nowadays. But I, it is something that's important to people. This is almost just getting to religion in general, but I do feel like faith is an important thing in the world, just on the macro for people to believe in something, you know, God or any number of values that you might say. So I, yeah, I don't know. This is a story where I have no idea what like a hardened Catholic would think of this film. They probably might not like it. I have no idea what the consensus from religious circles of this movie is. From, you know, an atheistic or just, you know, agnostic perspective, I would say just the murder mystery aspects that I talked about are something. I mean, it reminds me a lot of the first Game of Thrones book or like A Song of Ice and Fire, where it, you know, that is like a full murder mystery, or turns out to be. It seems like a natural death, but it turns out there's, you know, something nefarious at play. But then you have all these people that are conniving and backstabbing in the dark, and that's what this movie feels like. So
I mean, in a
that
lot of
part is
ways, this kind of
interesting.
felt like Succession. I was thinking
Yeah,
that
a
while I
little
was
bit.
watching, less comedic, of course, but a lot of the like backroom politics of trying to get one over the other and like hiding information, and it's a whole like very Succession style thing. And I mean, yeah, the papacy is a political position as much as like everyone would seem to like say religion and politics are separate. They obviously aren't, and the film
I mean,
understands this perfectly.
I feel like how Vatican City works and that that isn't really at any kind of separation of church and state. Like the Pope just runs the entire place. It's a whole thing. Yeah. Yeah. Um I don't know. I would recommend this movie though, and I would definitely recommend the
Yeah,
book. I prefer the book. But I'm glad that this movie exists, and I think it does a really good job just putting that story to the screen. Um, and I think I mentioned this when I recommended it, but it's also one of those things. This movie got more popular when Pope Francis passed away, and people were wondering how a conclave works. I'm like, this is how it is. I think in the book they say I don't this was like hundreds of years ago, but apparently the longest conclave lasted for 3 years, which I could not imagine. But I'm like, there others have gone on for like a couple of days, like I think 12 days or something like that. There was one, I think last century that was along those lines, but this is how they do it. They literally lock them in the Sistine Chapel, and it's just you eat, you sleep, you pray, you read, and
mm,
you vote until you pick someone new. So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I would recommend it too. It is a very good film. I mean, it's
Oscar-y
yeah,
aspects notwithstanding.
yeah. It's like you can taste the Oscar bait in it, but it's still really good. Like Oscar bait films oftentimes are quite good. It's not just like this isn't Train Dreams, which is just I really hate Train Dreams. It was nominated for Best Picture this year at the Oscars, and it was just like a nothing burger of a film, especially because it had fucking stupid ass narration. But that's topic for another day. This is actually like an actual film with an actual story and a point, instead of just like playing up to your emotions to make you cry and everything, which is what Train Dreams was. So this is an actual film with an actual story, and even though it is Oscar baity, it doesn't like make the film like bad. It just makes it a little bit like pretentious, I guess. And sometimes it's fine for films to be pretentious. I don't mind a little pretentiousness. That's the topic for another day as well. But the word pretentious is kind of interesting to me because it's the whole like thinking you're smarter than you are. Um, but sometimes things are just smart, but we call them pretentious anyway. It's a whole dilemma. I've been thinking about that recently because I've been rewatching Legion, which is my favorite show, and that show is pretentious, but like maybe it's just smart. But was there a better word to describe it than pretentious? Who knows? Anyway, I would I would recommend the film. Is the bottom line. I enjoy it, and I mean the performances are amazing. The music, the cinematography, I really do love it.
Awesome. I would too. And like I said, check out Robert Harris's book. I low key might go on a bit of an arc with him now. There's a movie called The Ghost Rider that he apparently helped to write, though a director who's a naughty boy did it. So. Yeah, but book's great. So yeah. All right, your turn, Skye. What do you
It is
have on
my
the
turn.
chopping block?
It is my turn to recommend something. Um, you know what? I'm gonna bring us back to an arc we've been having for a while. It's been a while since we watched any of his films, but I'm going to recommend M. Night Shyamalan's Signs.
I've never seen that. That's one of
Perfect.
those just on my list forever things.
Yeah,
I
I'm
know
the
I know a
same.
lot
I've
about
never
it.
seen
I
it.
mean, it's one of those things I haven't in part. I think I haven't seen it because I know certain spoilers, and it's like it was stupid. What was the point of it? I don't know though, but
We'll
that's
see.
one of those like people. It's like The Village is another one that's similar to that, where a lot of people stand by it, but I've also heard criticisms.
Yeah.
So, but it's still
It's one
early
of the high
Shyamalan.
yeah,
So
it's one of the highest rated Shyamalan films, and I mean, a lot of the people I follow gave it like 4 out of 10s, 5 out of 10s, so it's
yeah. I don't have any like nostalgia. It's not like E.T. There's so many movies that I feel like people maybe watched when they were younger and
uh-huh.
it connected a little more to them, but I've always wanted to check that out. Okay.
Yeah,
Signs, let's do it.
yeah. And it has one of the Culkin brothers. I just realized because I opened the film on Letterboxd. I'm like, wait, that's not Macaulay Culkin, but it looks like him. And
Wait,
it's not
what? Wait,
Kieran.
Kieran's in it?
No, it's Rory Culkin.
Rory Culkin.
Yeah,
What? There's another one?
yeah. That's
Okay.
it's literally the joke in the Rick and Morty episode we watched like a couple weeks ago. I guess
Oh
that's
my
Rory
god.
Culkin. I guess he exists.
Okay. Jesus, I feel bad now.
Yeah.
Okay
Um.
then. Wow.
All right. So we'll catch you next week, folks, for Signs. Thanks for watching. Comment, like, subscribe, all that good stuff. I posted a new video about the Amazing Digital
Finale,
Circus.
yeah.
Yeah. So if you want to check that
How's that
out,
one doing? Is it doing all right, or
it's
is it a
doing pretty
little
good.
under?
Not as good as the Trans Jacks video, but that video overperformed like crazy. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, people probably thought you were semi predicting the future. I don't think you'd seen the pilot. You've written it, but like you keep saying, it's like it's all obvious, people.
Yeah. um.
Ugh.
But anyway, folks, we'll catch you next time. Thanks for watching. Bye bye.
Bye bye.